What's up? I'm Vinny.
And I'm the Stash.
You're gonna watch Cartoon Theology.
On the X.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Heresy. Welcome back to Cartoon Theology, Episode 2. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell.
Ding ding.
All right. Where did we leave off there, Sean?
Well, last time we talked a little bit about how, is the devil red with a horn, a tail, and a pitchfork. If you missed that, make sure you go out and check out the description down below, and we'll have the link to that in there. That's kind of what we talked about last time. This time we're going to talk a little bit about does the devil live in and rule hell? That's kind of the big thing we're talking about. These are two ideas that are widely believed and repeated throughout our culture and honestly throughout the world. A lot of people believe this. You can kind of see this idea repeated time and again, whether in cartoons, comedy bits, television shows, movies, music, books, or art. And unfortunately, they've also been repeated by Christians and those who claim to be Christians for centuries. How many of you guys ever go to like I think they call it, what is it called? It's a redemption house or something like that, Halloween.
Judgment
House,
yeah.
And they always take you to hell and Satan's there and he's there to take it. You know what I'm saying? And they always got that one creepy guy playing
And the demons have to grab you.
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff. And so even churches have peddled this nonsense that this is kind of an idea. But what are some examples of pop culture? Can you guys think of some?
I can definitely think of a ton. You got, Bugs Bunny pulling them down.
Mm-hmm. I think Elmer Fudd was
Elmer Fudd, yeah.
There's an entire Betty Boop episode of her.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Cartoons do it time and time again. Most recent, of course, you got Cuphead. Of course,
okay.
As far as Cuphead,
that's more of a cartoon. That's a game, though, isn't it?
It's a game, but it's based off
the based on
the old cartoons.
Oh, okay.
And of course, you got currently Sabrina, the remake of Sabrina, Chilling Adventures, and
now she's no longer Sabrina the Good Witch. She's
Sabrina the Satan's my father. But doesn't she go to hell?
She's the queen of hell.
She's the queen of hell. There you go.
Oh yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably as far as.
Well, I mean,
and even in like comics, it'll go there as far as demons ruling hell.
I remember him from the Powerpuff Girls. I don't know if you guys remember that one or not.
I definitely.
You always talk like this.
Yeah, that.
I don't know if you guys remember that or not, but
it scared me. My entire childhood.
The devil from Cow and Chicken. Okay.
That ruled like the mini mall.
Yeah, but Cow and Chicken is one of my absolute favorite cartoons. Pork butts and taters. But that's just one of my favorite ones. But there's Gobs more. The British comedian Rowan Atkinson. Have you guys ever seen his bit? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has a whole entire it's like a 10 to 15 minute long bit.
It's like a welcome to hell bit.
Yeah, and he's just kind of going through, and
roasting people.
Big time roasting people.
So you basically have this principle of kind of the opposite of Saint Peter meeting you in heaven.
Basically,
Satan meets you at hell.
Yes.
Level.
But to me, though, I think it goes beyond just the idea of St. Peter, okay? Because, and we'll get to that in a minute, but we'll come back to that in just a second. Don't let me forget. We'll come back to that. But
I will totally remember.
I wanted to just kind of give a few more examples, I think, real quick. But the song Bohemian Rhapsody, okay, which is a fantastic musical anthem.
Absolutely.
But there's that line in there. It says, "Beelzebub has the devil put aside for me." Okay, and so the idea there is that Beelzebub is another name for Satan. It means Lord of the Flies. But that he has a devil in hell waiting to torture Freddie Mercury, or the person that Freddie Mercury's singing about in the song. And so that's the idea again, that Satan is in charge of hell and that the demons help him punish evildoers. And that really is kind of the whole entire premise of the TV show The Good Place that just happened. I don't know if you guys have watched that or not. It's very funny, okay, but theologically garbage, okay, but it's hilarious. It's really, the writing on it's top notch, but again, you got to go into that show knowing this is not biblical at all. You know what I'm saying?
You talked
But,
about the Lord of the Flies. Is that the principle that the book is based off of, kind of thing?
There's a section in the book where the kids, they began to worship this pig head that they've chopped off this pig and they stuck on a stake, and the flies kind of buzz around it, and that's kind of where they get the idea, Lord of the Flies. They tie it in with Satan. Basically, it's kind of like a.
So does
it's
like,
kind of like a picture of the power of evil and sin, how it can take over people when there's no. The whole book is kind of about the necessity for authority, and how left without authority that people basically go to the basest levels possible because their sin nature begins to take over, and they kind of basically begin to kill each other. That's basically what the book's kind of about. But if you've not read Lord of the Flies, go out and buy a copy. It's fantastic. You probably didn't have to read it if you're younger, but you need to.
But hold on. Where's the origin of like that name come from? If you don't know, Bunny Trail.
I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah. Back for next
There you
time.
have it.
We'll have to, make a note. We'll write that down and we'll look that up next time. I don't remember off the top of my head, but
Back to devil ruling hell.
yes. So let's look at the first half. Does the devil live in hell? Okay, that's the first question. Because to rule there, he's supposed to live there.
Right.
So does he live there? Though there's lots of people, including some who claim to be Christians, who said and intimated that he lives there, the Bible's pretty clear that he does not live in hell. We get several clues to this truth throughout the scriptures. The book of Job. If you've ever read the book of Job, I think we just went through that in the chronological read, which if you guys have never joined us on the chronological read.
Feel free to join us.
Please do. You can find it on our X's website, also on our church's website, or our church's YouTube page, not on our website. But anyways, Job chapter number 1, verse 67 says, "Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. The Lord said to Satan, 'From where have you come?' Satan answered the Lord and said, 'From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking up and down on it.'" So this tells us that Satan he's not in hell, he's living on earth, he's walking around, kind of trying to find, walking around on it. And although we do see that he has access to heaven, okay, from other scriptures we know that he's not allowed to remain there because he, now is the embodiment of sin, basically because he sinned against God and he fell. Which I think we talked about last time a little bit, but he is still allowed to go up to heaven. The Hebrew word is Satan, which is Satan in Hebrew. It basically means accuser, and so he goes to heaven to accuse us. Okay, and that's kind of what he's doing here in the book of Job. If you go and you continue reading this story, he begins to accuse Job to the Lord and accuse the Lord even of twisting Job's response to him by keeping him blessed. But he's there on the earth. This idea is confirmed for us in some other passages of scriptures. For one, when Jesus is tempted in the wilderness, again we see Satan on earth. Okay, and you can see those parallel accounts of that in Matthew chapter 4, Mark chapter 1, and Luke chapter 4. In 1 Peter 5:8, it tells us, "Be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour." So again, the idea is that he's here on earth, prowling around, kind of like a tiger or a lion, row. But he's prowling around, roar even. Okay, he's prowling around like a lion. Okay, and and looking for someone to devour. Okay, so he's basically looking for Christians he can take out. That's what the whole entire verse is talking about. So it tells us to be sober-minded and watchful. So that's kind of what it's talking about there. And so the idea is, if here on earth we're being warned to be looking out for someone who's going to try to devour us, then he has to be here in the same realm attempting to try to devour us. Okay, so that's kind of the idea there.
Which there's some fascinating stuff there about like the different realms. I think there's another version that talks about the princes of the universe as opposed to the princes of...
Well, you have he's called the prince of the power of the air. That's one of his other names. And so there's also the rulers and authorities the Bible talks about. So just kind of like how God has a hierarchy of angels, with archangels, cherubim, seraphim, and then you're from what we know, average angels.
Oh, yeah, just run-of-the-mill angel.
Yeah.
Run the mill, average guy.
Doug
the angel.
But Satan seems to imitate almost everything God does. In the book of Revelation, we're going to get to it in our Revelation study here before too long, but there is what's called the unholy trinity. You have Satan, the false prophet, Satan, the Antichrist, the false prophet.
Okay, I got a question.
Okay.
So obviously he can't be the same as this principle's always confused me, because are these just extra demons that are just high up, or are these Satan and somehow divided himself?
No, they're just other demons that are.
So the false prophet and the
the false prophet is a person, okay, and the Antichrist is a person.
So the Antichrist is not Satan, a demon?
No, the Antichrist is a demon. He's a person who is probably going to be possessed by Satan himself.
Okay.
Okay. The false prophet is going to be a person who will probably be possessed by another high-ranking demon, because he's going to have supernatural abilities as well, just like the Antichrist will. Because Satan's goal is to imitate Jesus' coming to earth through the Antichrist, okay, and to imitate what God did through Jesus. He's going to try to take and imitate that with the Antichrist, because when you get into the book of Revelation, you see that the Bible talks about how the Antichrist appears to have died and yet he lives. And so there's the idea, a lot of scholars believe that he actually will be killed somehow, and then Satan will resurrect him. Okay, or
mimicking the resurrection of Jesus
mimicking
Christ.
the resurrection of Christ, exactly. And so the false prophet is like a picture of the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit's job, and one of the things, his works that he does is he points people to Jesus. The false prophet will point people to the Antichrist. That's kind of what he'll do. And so you kind of find that parallel there. Satan tries to imitate what Jesus does, what God does all the time. You see it even when Moses goes down to Egypt, okay, and tells Pharaoh, "Let my people go." And he's like, "Well, why should I let your people go? Who is this guy? I don't know who you're talking about." And so Moses throws down his rod, it becomes a snake. Well, all of the court magicians there, they throw down their rods, they become snakes as well. Okay, so Satan again is imitating what God's doing. But then Moses' rod eats the rods of the magicians, okay, which should be a little clue there to them that, this is not the same thing. This is something bigger and better.
My snake is way cooler than yours.
They keep trying to imitate the same things that he's doing until they get to, I think it's the fourth plague, if I remember right, where there's boils all over their body, and the Bible says that they can't even come and stand before Pharaoh to give an answer and to try to take and imitate what's been going on. And so, they imitate.
So behind the scenes, you have God basically overpowering Satan, and it's like an overshadow of what's going on.
Well, not necessarily overpowering Satan. Satan's trying to imitate what God is doing to try to continue to deceive people. Okay, and he continues to do that today. I mean,
absolutely.
The New Testament talks about how he's, he is an angel of light. And those that are his servants come as an angel of light. And so you find, again, we've talked before about, at least here we've talked before, maybe not on the camera, but we have talked about, how there are people who claim to be pastors, who claim to preach the word of God, who claim to be God's servants, who are preaching heresy. They're preaching anything but the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so those people are doing the work of Satan because they are leading people down a path that is pulling them away from the truth of God to a lie, and that ultimately will lead those people to hell if they don't get out of that and somehow get the gospel in the midst of that and come to Christ. And so it's very, very important that when it comes to the gospel, we're very particular about what we do and how we say it, because it matters. So,
okay, different. On this episode, are we talking about hell itself? Are we going to transition that?
We'll get to that in a minute. I'll get to that in just a minute.
You said he has access to heaven, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does that mean he also has access to hell?
No. And I'll tell you why in a minute.
So he can't just come and go?
So he can't okay.
No, he can't come and go. And if hell was not what hell really is, you could make that argument. Okay? But because of what hell is, you can't say, well, he's he's living in hell, but he's going to take and come out every once in a while and go roam the earth and attack people, and then he's going to take and go back to hell and chill out in his crib, okay, and then go out.
Well, you have this, in culture, you have this principle that, they're trapped in hell, but they can come out if Satan approves or whatever, it's like, they always make it like a big deal that
Was
like,
it
oh,
like
I finally made it out of hell.
Is it like a demonic hall pass?
demonic hall pass?
Satan is the hall monitor of hell.
But what I don't get about
No running, fellas, no running.
what I don't get about it is like, isn't that him going against himself? Wouldn't he want everybody to be up doing as much as they could possibly do? Why would he want them in hell?
But the demons or the people?
I mean, I guess I don't know where the thought goes there. It's like, I guess the thought is they're there torturing.
Well, that kind of
people.
leads us to the next section, the next question. Okay, the next half of this question. So, so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time in this video about hell because we're planning on coming back to that idea.
Right.
But basically, suffice it to say, hell is not a place that Satan or any of the demons that follow his leadership want to go. Okay. You see, God made the lake of fire as a place of punishment for Satan and his demons. So when they're there, they're there. They're not getting out. Okay? And they're not going there, it's not going to be, heat wave, having a heat wave. Okay, it's not like that, all right? They're not partying, having a hula or anything like that.
AC/DC lied to us?
Yes, AC/DC lied to you. Yes, they most definitely did. Yes. But you gotta love the guitar riff in back in Black. Revelation 20:10 says this. It says, "And the devil who had deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur where the beast and the false prophet were. And they were there and they will be tormented day and night forever." So Satan is going to this place to be tormented. Okay, he's to be tortured basically for eternity. And so he doesn't want to go there. I mean, he's not going, "Oh yes, please, may I have that?" Okay, he's not trying to get there. Matthew 25:41 says, "And then he will say to those on his left, 'Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels.'" And so, when God made what we call hell, okay, we'll get more into that in a future episode. He made that specifically to punish Satan and the demons that left, or the angels that left heaven to follow Satan whenever he fell. That was the purpose of hell in the first place. Okay? But he still will take those people who reject Christ and turn away from Christ, and they will wind up there with the devil and his angels because they are basically joining the devil in his sin. So they will be there with him. And so the devil knows that that's his end, tormented forever for his rebellion against God. And so in the gospel, we even see that the demons know it too, and they beg Jesus not to send them there to be punished. Okay, I don't know if you guys remember the account of the demoniac and the Gerasenes. Okay, it's this guy who's living out in the tombs, roaming around naked, naked, not naked. Okay, there's a difference. That he's naked.
There's a difference?
There is a difference, yes.
Whoa. You have to explain that to me later.
I will. Okay. But he's naked and he's like cutting himself with stones and stuff like that. And the Bible talks about how he's demon possessed, and because he's demon possessed, he's so strong that the people in this town by him have gone out and they've tried to chain him up, and Is
this the dude with the Legion?
Yes.
Okay.
That one exactly. But anyway, so as you said, he's possessed by so many demons that they call themselves Legion. And to kind of give you an idea, a legion in the Roman army would have been between 4,000 and 6,000 men.
Wow.
Okay, so that's a lot of people. So when they call themselves a legion, we don't know for sure that this man had that many demons in him. But needless to say, he had a crap load of demons in him. Okay.
If that's the term used in the culture they were in back then, it would
Yes.
make sense.
That very possibly, yes, that he had a ton, maybe even 4,000.
Or we are many.
And they had given him this supernatural power almost, really, because when they put chains on him, he would just literally snap them off.
Yeah, like inhuman strength.
Yes, which if you've ever had an encounter with someone who is demon possessed, that happens. Speaking from experience. But anyways,
That's another story for another day.
it is way another story for another day.
You have to explain that to me too later.
Yeah, it was not a pleasant experience. But anyways,
Never is.
so anyways, when Jesus sees this guy, he knows he's demon possessed, okay? And so he begins to command the demons to come out of the man. And if you look in verse 30 through 31 of that chapter, Luke 6, it says, Jesus then asked them, what is your name? And he said, Legion, for many demons had entered him. And they begged him not to command them to depart into the abyss. Okay? And so the abyss there is talking about this part of hell where these demons have been placed. Okay, the Bible talks about it in a different passage of Scripture. It says that the abyss was created. That it contains these angels that left their place and did what was contrary to what God had created them for, and He puts them in this place. So it's a place of punishment for them. And so, knowing that hell is this place where Satan and his demons would be punished for eternity, I think we can safely assume that he's not living there. Okay, I mean, none of us is going to say, "Wait, there's torture involved? Sign me up." Okay. Not only will I take and torture myself by signing this
Culture thought.
this contract for
Yeah.
Well, I think from culture perspective, you have they exist and rule it for now, but somehow later it's torture for them also. It's kind of confusing.
I think it's like the revolving door perspective of hell is what really society's come to, especially with shows like the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. It's like this open realm where they can come and go as they please. That there's really no torture aspect.
Supernatural. Oh, that's
to
a good one
hell.
too.
Well, it's
just a
supernatural.
place that's
It's like
contrary to heaven.
in supernatural. It's like there are some souls who have been sent to hell.
Yeah.
Who also torture alongside the demons. It's really weird.
That is weird.
It's really weird.
Yeah, because if you look at the good.
Well, is that the same? Okay.
Well, the principle
this
is
a side
like
note, but is it like the principle of you died and you became a demon kind of thing?
Yeah, some people do believe that.
It's less
it's
that
the
and
principle
more
of like dying and becoming
more
an
like
angel or a demon. Okay,
it seems
that's
more
correct.
like the character died and goes to hell, then tortures people and then gets pulled out of hell. It's almost like he tortures people to gain his freedom from hell. It's really weird.
Because Satan has the authority to get you back out of hell.
Which is also
Again, it's that whole-
He doesn't have that much authority, but
it's the
because he's not
revolving door.
ruling it, and so that's the thing about it, and so
Well, he has no authority in that.
he doesn't, because hell ultimately is ruled by God, and that's what it boils down to is God is in control of hell. He's the one who's going to put Satan there. He's going to put his demons there. He's the one who's going to put the people who reject Christ there. The devil has no power there whatsoever. He's not there to execute God's judgment on the lost. Okay, that is not his purpose at all.
Because
God doesn't need his help.
God is executing
God-
judgment
God-
upon him.
Exactly.
he's the enemy, so it doesn't make sense that God would be like, oh, you're in authority of like torturing everybody until like a certain date, and then I'm done with you too.
But it's like that whole like theological principle is just not present in any.
No, it's not because
It's not even-
almost every. I mean, like you
It's
said,
a
it's even in
revolving door.
church.
It's not
Church,
even-
they teach
Yeah,
you, you're going to be down there with hell, and you're going to be tortured by Satan and his demons.
Some people, well, if anybody's ever preached that to you, they were lying. So,
Because it's not
just
even implied in these verses.
not implied anywhere in the scriptures. Honestly, it's just not.
It's just this idea you're taught when you're little. If you're bad and you don't love Jesus, you're going to go to hell, and it's Satan's there like this pokey figure.
Oh yeah, it's like, the boogeyman's gonna get you.
Well, it is true, but it's
Boogeyman's
not.
gonna get you. Boogeyman's gonna.
But it does allude that Satan has like all this power there when he doesn't have any power there at all.
He is.
It's like he's
you
Krampus.
have no power. You have no power here, Satan.
Yeah, well, that's basically the truth, though. I mean, he doesn't have any power there because God is putting him there to punish him, and God is still ruling in that domain, and so which we'll get more into when we have our episode on hell,
I'm gonna.
which will be coming up in a few episodes. So I'm not gonna say we because who knows when we're gonna get to our next one, but
We definitely.
You know.
We do not have a timeline or schedule for this kind of crap.
we're trying to, but yeah,
We're working on it.
To be continued.
to be continued for
But-
sure.
At a later date.
Oh, nice.
So the thing is I think that this idea comes more from ancient mythologies. where you had like the Greek god Hades, who was the Lord of the Dead, who ruled over the place of the dead. You see the same thing in Egyptian mythology, Roman mythology.
I think there's a confusing layer on top of that because the Bible even mentions Hades referring to hell, and I think there's people that make that.
Which tune in for our episode on hell, and we'll square all that up for you.
And
but
not to keep dipping into that pot, but it's in the same realm. So, but yeah, I think it's worth mentioning that you have Satan as Hades kind of figure, kind of ruling hell.
that's I think where people get the idea. They just exchange Hades for Satan, and
that's not what it's talking about.
But that's not at all. Hades was the place of the dead.
Right? Not the person.
Biblically, Hades is the place of the dead, not Satan. And you kind of see a little bit of this mindset. If you look at Dante's Inferno, although in Dante's Inferno, to give Dante justice, at least according to the summary I read, because I've not had time to read the whole book, but Satan is actually bound in hell and being punished in hell whenever you get to the center, the last level of hell in Dante's Inferno.
So he's not
running it, because I initially I thought, well, maybe that's where people get the idea. They got it from Dante's Inferno because that's such a major piece of literature.
Well, but older pieces that I found is like the origin. Well, some of the origin of like Halloween. You have like a drunken Jack, and his whole principle is that he made a deal against Satan, and that kept him out of hell. And so it also going on the implication that somehow Satan has got the keys to hell.
Yeah, which he doesn't. And which where Jesus plainly says, in the Book of Revelation, that he has
that's old
death and hell.
That's old Irish. That goes back centuries.
You get into a lot of the Irish
Druids.
That's exactly
the Druidism. I mean, Druids were basically Satan worship. I mean, they were witches. Literal witches, not
they communed with the spirits of nature is what the Druids did.
Pantheist, and so they're not speaking for God in any way.
Oh,
so,
right.
I guess you could say. They have their own mindset, which
they were confused.
Probably a lot of that was probably rooted in their own mythology there in Ireland, because this mythology is really interesting. If you trace the mythologies of different countries, different cultures, most of them are very similar in some way, shape, or form. You usually have one deity who is the supreme deity, Zeus or Apollo. Was it Apollo? No, not Apollo. Saturn.
Greek. You're talking Roman?
Yeah, who's the Roman one?
Roman.
Is that Apollos?
I know in Egypt it's Ra, the sun god.
Yeah,
Egypt, Ra. And so in Inca,
Zeus,
Odin.
And in Odin, in Incan mythology, it's also the sun god. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. But
Jupiter and
Jupiter.
In
That's
Roman,
it.
it's Jupiter.
Jupiter.
And so you see this mindset, and they always have usually a god of the sun. They have a god of the dead. They'll have a god of fertility. They'll have a god of the sea. Under the sea. But they have all of these things, and so there's similarities there, and which. A lot of that goes back to Babylon and the false religions that were established at that time at Babylon, and how it kind of spread. Tower of Babel, what's called the Mystery Babylon religion, which we do not have time to get into.
Question: do they call it the Tower of Babel because they were all babbling by the end of it?
I believe so. Yes.
And that's the origin.
I think we get our word babbling from the word Babel in the Bible, actually.
Babel.
So is that's technically the Tower of Babel is the origin of Babylon? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Just
I just added a
Nimrod, if I remember right. Nimrod established. Yeah, I know. You Nimrod. But Nimrod establishes Babylon, and so the tower.
The first king of Babylon.
Babylon. I guess you could say he's the first king. I mean, he's the one who founded the city, according to Genesis.
Which thing? It's an interesting tidbit of Nimrod.
Yeah,
Nimrod.
That's a deep well.
Another episode.
Honestly, I'm gonna take like a very short 30-second here. Nimrod really became cartoon and like dumbed down for Looney Tunes. Again, a cartoon taking away.
Well, I mean, the whole phrase Nimrod in our society, I mean,
Meant hunter.
basically- Well, then it meant hunter, but
It meant
now-
hunter
but
until
now
Looney Tunes.
It means moron. You
Well,
know?
okay. If you look up the origin, you have the Looney Tunes calling Elmer Fudd a hunter,
Yeah.
Nimrod, which then it changed to being a moron.
Because
That's the
Elmer Fudd-
change.
Elmer Fudd, when he hunts, is a moron.
Is a moron.
Yes, he is.
So that's where Nimrod started being, oh, you're being a moron, you're Nimrod. But before then, like the Looney Tunes were being sarcastic, like, you're a little Nimrod, you know.
Yeah, he's a real Nimrod, that one.
Yeah.
So just tidbit. But
Interesting.
back to Satan Roman.
Yes. So, but I think where we get it, that people get that idea though is from these mythologies, because Hades normally is also viewed as evil. Okay, at least in the Disney Hercules movie. He's viewed as evil.
Let's just say, if we're gonna take on that, if we're gonna go down that well, they kind of put Zeus as like a better person than he is, and Hades is like a worse person than he is.
Yeah.
And they give it gospel music and make it,
Yeah.
Well, Hades in that movie.
It feels very
he's-
much like they were
He's
kind of pulling
less
from
evil, and he's more just angry that Zeus put him down there in the first place.
That's true.
that. James Woods, like,
But anyways, but
perfect.
I think that's
Hades.
where they get it, and the problem too is that people. One of the reasons why I think people think this is because people begin to think that God and Satan are equals.
No, they're just not.
And they're not. Okay, I mean, there are some. We'll get to that, which hopefully, if we start our next series, what they believe, we'll get to that too. But there are some, religious groups that believe that Jesus and Satan are brothers and stuff like that. That's not biblical. You can't find it in scriptures. But some people think that God and Satan are equals, and theologically that's called dualism. Okay, it's the idea of eternal good and eternal evil, and they're constantly locked into battle with each other, but neither one will ever be victorious over the other. And it's you can see it in Chinese culture, the yin and the yang. That's dualism.
In that case, there would
It's kind of like the
there would-
Force. Good light side, dark side.
Light side,
There
dark
has to
Keep
be
the
side.
balance.
In that
Gray
case,
side.
there would never be an end times.
Exactly. There
Well,
would
there'd
not
never be a winner because it would always
Well, if
be
you-
a
if you-
constant head to head.
If you ask a Buddhist or anybody of that nature, they would tell you there is no end times. It's like you
Yeah.
have your
Everyone
own
just
end
re-
times, but it
And
just
then you reincarnate later.
exactly
It's
it goes on
it's
and on
like
forever.
a beetle or something, depending on what you did.
Yeah, if you get into Hinduism, you can come back as a cockroach.
But that's a different series. Different series.
Well, they don't survive my shoe. So, so I think that's basically where it comes from, but that's not what the Bible teaches. The scriptures are very, very plain that God alone is God. Okay, and that Satan is a lesser being that God created as originally as a holy being, but he rebelled against God by trying to become greater than God himself, but he's not greater. Okay, and that's when he became sinful and fell into sin, and God cast him out of heaven. But he is not greater than God, and he never will be greater than God. Yes, he's powerful. Okay, he's definitely more powerful than we humans are.
Well, yeah, compared to us.
Compared to us, I mean,
But
because
God also compares us to sheep. So-
exactly. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, and if we know anything about sheep, they're dumb. Okay, but child, that there's that one old hymn we used to sing, Savior like a shepherd lead us. Oh, you guys remember that one?
Ba, 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 ba.
I always wanted to change the next line to "We are all just stupid sheep," but it's not how it goes. But anyways, but yeah, so God is no one. Satan's not greater than God. He's never going to be greater than God. But instead, one day God's going to take Satan and cast him into the lake of fire and punish him there for eternity. And there will be a winner. Okay, I mean, in the end, God wins. I mean, that's that's the great thing about scriptures is we know that in the end God wins because God tells us these things. He doesn't leave us blind wondering, well, is Satan never going to go away? You know,
God's not wondering that. He already knows.
he knows exactly, you know, but he doesn't leave us thankfully knowing that, wondering either, because I mean, you know, we could be wondering, you know, is Satan going to be like, you know, a bad hemorrhoid or something like that? It just never goes away. But sorry, I don't care for him, and I have horrible words to describe him in my mind. But
A hemorrhoid?
Darn Satan acting like a hemorrhoid.
anyways,
Feeling all clogged up.
so anyway.
Okay,
That went south
Deferring,
fast. That went south.
deferring.
Yeah, that went fast. That went
All right.
down south. So
Okay.
This is
Okay.
supposed to be a holy place.
Don't say it. Okay.
Oh wait, no.
Dang it, Jimmy. Dang it. All right. All right. Oh, I guess that.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right.
I hit my inhaler again.
Is that about it?
Yeah, pretty much does it. I think for the
All right.
episode.
All right. Well, like I said, that does it for this episode. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Hit the bell to turn on notifications. The next episode will be answering the question: does the devil really do the devil? The devil?
The devil?
The devil?
I was wondering.
It's been a long day. Does the devil really do that? That's
The
what
answer
we're talking about
is
in the next episode.
Sometimes yes.
So we'll be talking about that next week, or next time, not next week, next time, and we hope you'll join us for that.
That's the end.